Peace.
Peace and blessings, everyone. I hope you're having a great day. This is Lasagna with the Goddess Key. And I am starting off a new series here on my channel, which will be dealing with Uranus in Gemini. So I'm a Gemini stellium. Gemini rules my fourth house. And what that's going to look like over the next 7 to 8 years while Uranus is going through Gemini. So we had like some major shifts, especially at the beginning of the year. With February, we had Neptune move into Aries, also Saturn moved into Aries. And I think at that time there were some other energies that was moving into Aries. So we had this big collective shift of energy, starting everyone off, in my personal opinion, on a new path, whatever that may be for you. So, because I'm a Pisces rising, Neptune was in my first house. It was, and I could say, looking back on that transit, I did have filters on, so to speak, or the rose colored glasses, as they would say, with Neptune traveling wherever Neptune is sitting in that particular house. So I can say that at the beginning of around 2010, 2011, I really became more spiritual and really leaving a lot of the religion-based thinking behind. So I'm from Atlanta. I grew up here outside of Decatur, outside of Atlanta, maybe 15, 20 minutes outside of Atlanta, and grew up in the church, Methodist. But I will credit my mother that when I was about 10 or 11, I told her I did not want to attend church. I didn't really like church, especially when I was younger. I did not enjoy church at all. And at that time, she agreed. She was like, you don't have to go. So I always tell her, thank her for allowing that and not forcing me into a particular sector of Christianity. So when I was around 22, no, let me take that back, around 24, 25, I joined the Nation of Islam and was in the Nation of Islam for a brief time. And I continued on being a Muslim, but not under the Nation of Islam, and became married. He was a Muslim, and we were under that umbrella of Sunni Islam, the traditional Orthodox Islamic way. And what made me start to question a lot of things far as religion is because some things that happened within our marriage. And I'm like, well, that's not how it says that we are supposed to conduct ourselves within this union that we call marriage. And I'm like, well, you're no more than what Christians would do. And I was trying to find something that was much more in alignment of who I was, not to say that Christianity is bad in itself, but the people in my particular circle and how I grew up and what I was seeing, people said they were Christians, but they did not operate in a Christian way. So that's why I was more drawn to Islam, because it was showing discipline and structure, and it was all about family and community and having a much higher standard in how we carried ourselves. So when I found myself in the same situation with my ex-husband, I'm like, something is not right. And I believe this is probably when Neptune was moving into my first house of Pisces. So I started on the spiritual journey. And this is when I started reaching out to psychics. I started learning about the pendulum. what else? Mainly psychics and pendulums and meditations. I really started heavy with meditations as well because we moved to New York and it was so noisy and I could not find that quiet space that I wanted. So I turned to meditation. Also went to some Asian meditation classes where they taught you how to hold the energy in your hands and things like that. So I can say that it was around 2000 and yeah, around about 2008, 9, 10, somewhere in there when I really started to come on board and learn about meditation, the energy healing, different things that's geared with the mind and spirituality and the psychics and the pendulums and just being more open to receiving. Also with the meditations, I started to experience um, seeing shadow people, and my consciousness had begun to really expand. So we moved to Arizona, and now that I know about astrocartography, that particular area is have a lot of Neptune energy. And when I got there, I had my youngest son. I was kind of very isolated and became more spiritually in tune with the learning about crystals and moon harvest, the moon energy harvesting with the crystals, and experiencing ghost. And I can tell you about that story another time, but just doing those type of things and experiencing those type of things, especially in that area. So I can say, during that time when Neptune transit in my first house is when I really became more in my spiritual essence of who I was, on this path that I have been traveling. Now, this was when I was in my mid to late 30s, going into my 40s. I end up moving back to Atlanta after the divorce, and I got settled and still was learning more about my spiritual path and my divine purpose. So I reached out to a chief who is on here. Excellent. I don't think he does readings anymore, but I was able to catch him at the time when he was offering readings. I know he does consultations and coaching, and also work with Priestess Callister. I'm not sure I pronounced the correct pronunciation of her name, but she's been on Love and Hip Hop, and I work with her as well. And I can see where all of that was coming aboard, and just also not really seeing people for who they truly were at that time, having that, you know, empathic caring, and not really seeing people for, again, for who they really were at that time when they were in my life. But I will say, when Saturn entered my first house in 2023, that's when the glasses were removed. And I will say that Saturn in my first house was a challenge, nevertheless, but it was the most beneficial thing that I have ever experienced, particularly that I knew how the energy was going to work as well. And when I came back, I started learning about astrology. I got more into astrology because one of the psychics, her name was Rita. I spoke with her several times and she told me to maybe look into astrology. Also, I got more information about Ifa and learning about the Orishas. So I dive deep into everything that I could learn, Kemetic science, you name it, the Kabbalah, the alchemists, the fourth agreements, everything that I could grab and learn. I have been studying since Neptune went into my first house of Pisces. So with Saturn there, it did take off the glasses. I was able to see much clearly of what was being presented to me, how people was really showing up, how I was showing up as well. So now that Saturn left, I was, happy because it did put this heavy weight, especially at the beginning. I would cry and cry, and I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't want to go anywhere. I didn't want to be bothered. Then my father passed away. There was a lot of things that was going on behind the scenes, dealing with family, and just a lot of challenges that came about, but it has made me a much stronger and better person. All right. So now that we have that energy moved into the second house, I will say that, I have to become more disciplined with my resources, which I've always been very disciplined with my money. But now, because the second house rules your income and your resources, it can present challenges. But I know that if I complete this, I will be much better on the other side once Saturn moves into Taurus, and it'll be coming up on my Saturn return because I have Saturn in Taurus, the third house. But we're going to go ahead and get into what it's been like since Uranus has just tiptoed into Gemini. Again, I'm a Gemini stellium. I have Venus, Mercury, and the Sun all sitting in Gemini. So it has been some family issues. It has been family dynamics, challenges that has come about within my family structure, particularly on my mother side of the family. So, not to give names or not to try to shame, not to put down anyone. They are very close. I love them all. But sometimes you have to love them and release. Or release them with love, as I like to say. Because the path that you're on doesn't always align with where they are in their mental capacity, within their consciousness, and what they're really trying to do with their life. And the biggest lesson that I'm learning now is that everyone has their own path, everyone has their own purpose, and it doesn't necessarily reflect on you that you may not receive the support that you need, you may not receive the space, or for them to hold space for you when you're going through things. And sometimes it's just the way it's meant to be to help you become a better person. I look at it as like a piece of stone, a piece of granite, or you know how you have those big pieces of granite, and then someone comes and sculpture each piece of that piece of granite to make it into whatever monument or whatever famous figure person is going to be chiseled. It's going to be, carved. And that's how I look at the universe is doing me right now. I have been this massive granite piece of stone, and each chisel, each transit, each challenge is shaping me to be this beautiful monument that will stand the test of time. So that's how I try to frame it, as a way of knowing that it's going to be okay. Everything's going to work out for its highest and greatest good. So at the beginning, I want to say probably within days of Uranus moving into Gemini, I want to say it was at the critical degree, probably 29 degrees, which I have planets that sit in right there to 29 degrees. When Uranus was there, I received phone calls from family, upset with certain things that was going on, dynamics. And Within that, my son lost his job, which he was working for a family member. And the whole thing that came out of that was that someone had told me, another family member, that he wasn't being treated very well. And I mentioned it to the person who owns the company. And to wrap it all up and to make it short, the person who told me the information threw me on the bus and said, no, they never said that to me. And this was a close family member who I felt that would have integrity and honor what they had said to me, which that was not the case. So that has put a very heavy strain on the family dynamics. And I knew something was going to happen, but I did not know it was going to happen in that manner, right? And what is coming up for me right now, and also my son, he's going through his own challenges as well. I have three young men. And the middle one is, having his moments of challenges into adulthood. He's just turned 22. And what is coming up and what is showing to me as I sit back and I analyze, because I'm a very observant person, I sit back and I really think deeply before I speak. And people tend to not want to take accountability for the role that they play. Each person within the dynamics has a role that they're playing. For example, one of the conversations, I tried to get some insight, which, was probably, hindsight 2020 was not the best thing to do, to let this person know what was being said. And I take full ownership of that. But I can say whatever, but the accountability of how you respond falls on you. It doesn't fall on me. I can say the sky is blue, which it is. How you respond to me telling you the sky is blue, or how you respond to whoever, because I said the sky is blue, falls on you, the individual. So I cannot control your emotions. You are the only person that can control your emotions. And with that, I'm seeing, not only with my family dynamics, also with my ex-husband's, the dynamics that's going on between my son, is that everyone that I'm seeing within my surroundings tend to not want to take accountability for their role that they're playing. And I told my ex-husband, when we were talking about my son, when we got a divorce, he did some things, and I'm not downplaying what role that he played and how our marriage ended up being in divorce. And even though I thought that I was being the best wife that I knew how to be at that time, in my journey, in my healing, I said, what role did I play? Even though I felt like I was doing everything correctly, there was something that I still was doing that prompted him to want to take the actions that he did, even though the accountability still falls on him, because I can do anything. And if you don't tell me I'm doing something wrong and you go out and you do other actions, that was on him, not on me, because I didn't know. So this is where you sit back and you say, take ownership of how you're showing up in the relationship, because you can have a relationship with yourself, and then you have relationships with your mother, your father, your other family members, your coworkers, your friends, your children. And you show a different version of yourself each time you're interacting with different people. I'm not necessarily the same person that I am with my children as I am with someone that I'm working with, or with my parents when my father was alive. My mother is still living. That's a whole nother different dynamic. I'm not the same necessarily when I'm conducting or being with other family members based on how close we are. So we have to take accountability how we show up with each person within our lives, and what role we play, and take ownership of our actions. Because, like I told my ex-husband, the whole thing that went on with between him and my son is that he could have got up, flipped up, spin around, did cartwheels. Was it necessary for you to display the energy and the aggressiveness or the actions that you did? Because you could have said, oh, well, he's acting a fool. He's going crazy. I'm going to go in here and sit down in my room and lock my door and let him flip and do whatever. So we have to take ownership of how we act in each dynamic. And this is what is coming up for me currently with Uranus tipping into Gemini in my family dynamics. I'm really seeing how people are showing up within my family, and not necessarily holding honor to them just because they are. I think a lot of times, especially the way society has built these traditional roles, that this is your mother and you're supposed to be this way. And I just give a quick example. My mother has, she can be very aggressive with her actions and her tones. Never have really been supportive of anything that I have done. And when I started to change and how I responded, now I'm the problem, as if I'm supposed to keep showing up, allowing the verbal abuse, allowing the non-support, allowing the put down, all because she's my mother. And that necessarily cannot go on a continuous thing, especially when you start to heal and grow and change, and the other person is not willing to. You have to release them with love. All right. So that's it for this episode with Uranus moving into Gemini, my fourth house. Let me know how it has been for you with Gemini moving into your whatever placement you have. How has it showed up for you? I would love to know in the comments. So make sure that you are subscribed so you can stay tuned for updates. I'll be trying to do this on an ongoing basis. I'm not sure if it will be every week, because some things, Uranus it's going to take time, and it is an unpredictable energy. So when something new pops up, I'll make sure that I will let you know. But also visit my website, thegoddesskey.com. I do offer personal insight readings. I do have a one-on-one mentorship program. And I also have my Inner Codes Arcana Oracle cards, which will be linked down below. So you can check that out as well. And with the Oracle cards, there are frequency music that is also within my channel that you can check out. There are 80 cards, 80 songs that goes with the cards for positive reinforcement of the meaning of the card. All right. So make sure you check that out either on my website or within the description below. And again, the cards will be tagged as well, so you can take a look, and if you would like to make a purchase. So again, I will see you real soon with another episode of Uranus traveling through Gemini. Who knows? It could be next week. It could be tomorrow. So, but I hope this message finds you well. And until next time.
Peace.